One. That's the wrong episode title. Okay. So we are live. Let me get us off of this.
We're here.
We're here.
We pulled it
Mostly
off.
here. Can you see yourselves on the screen? I cannot.
I see us. We look
Okay.
fabulous.
We do. We look very awake.
Some of us do.
I mean, I try. How's everybody doing this morning?
I'm awake.
Pretty.
I don't think you need to ask any more from me than awake. That's enough.
True.
I mean, it's afternoon, but I will be honest, I could be sleeping. But
that's fair.
I mean, yes. I want to know why that banner is still there, but that's something that I'm not going to worry about right now. Because it's going to drive me crazy if I worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Don't worry about it. These are not things I worry about anymore. I'm so chill. I'm so chill. Okay, so we are talking about awesome things today.
I'm excited for this conversation.
I kind of am too. Van, your idea. Why don't you go for it?
I don't remember it being my idea. Why am I getting blamed for this? Yeah, the Delta dilemma. We're sticking captains in the Delta Quadrant and seeing if they can get their crew back to the Alpha Quadrant. I think we decided we were giving them all Voyager.
Yes.
And maybe they could have a buddy from their universe, but mostly they just get the crew of Voyager. Do we want to allow them to make any choice not to blow up the array? Because I rewatched it and reread the end of the book, and I'm not saying Janeway couldn't have tried, but like the array had already been hit by a Kazon ship. It's falling apart. There's not enough power. Like there's no reasonable person that's going to say, yeah, that's definitely going to take us back to the Alpha Quadrant. No problem.
It's funny you say that, because when I was looking at our list of captains that we chose, I thought, there are quite a few people on this list I think would just, take the easy way out and not take the Janeway way in the beginning. So I think we have to force them into the Delta Quadrant.
I
cue them into the Delta Quadrant.
So one of the things I will say is, and we do have to set the expectations and all of that, but if you remember from the second episode of the premiere of Voyager, it wasn't to destroy the array. It was, we have just enough time to launch ourselves back home with the array, or we destroy the array and make sure that it doesn't fall into Kazon hands and screw the Ocampa over. So that there's like that moral dilemma right at the start. It's not even like, do we keep the array? Do we not? It's, let's save the Ocampa, who are these like basically children living underground and completely ignorant of everything that's going on. So I think that adds this, and that's something that, as we were talking, I didn't remember. Like, why did they do that? Why did Janeway do that? But you're right, Van. There really wasn't a question. The array was going to be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do you do in that brief time you still have? I think it's a big.
I'm not sure that I would have trusted the array, especially with the caretaker like dying or dead, depending on when they flung themselves back with the array. Like it wasn't the smoothest ride. Like when they were pulled to the Delta Quadrant, it didn't turn out well for the ship. Like it was a rocky ride.
Stop working good. Anyway, no,
Yes.
it wasn't Rocky, and then it's like, okay, we have 5 minutes. I figured out how to launch us. It's like, is there like a safety thing we
Yeah.
have to worry about? Like, there's other things,
Do we understand this tech well enough to use it?
right?
Also a good
Like,
question. Yeah.
I don't even like. I didn't even turn on my new oven until I read. Okay, look, I read the manual a little bit. Like, I didn't read the manual, but I skimmed
No,
it.
I read the entire manual for my new oven when I got it.
I mean, it took me 5 minutes to figure out how to log into this podcast. So I obviously would not be making great decisions in that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but I guess the tech issues are just rotating between us, so that's
Yeah.
also a thing.
It's fine.
At least my camera's working.
So I think we have to say that they all do the same thing or that ends them up in the Delta Quadrant. So we're putting everybody on even ground to begin with.
I think they all are
They stay.
stranded in the Delta Quadrant. I think that's the best way. We can make jokes about which captains would definitely be like, "Sorry, Okampa, we don't care about you," because I will.
But I
there are
think
definitely a few of those.
But I think what's even more interesting, because I have multiple lists this time. And
no, I put mine on Post-it notes, so I didn't talk too much.
Well, so one of the things I was thinking about this week about this topic was more interesting is how these captains face up against some of the villains in the Delta Quadrant, because there are definitely some villains that I think will make the difference between whether or not I think a captain makes it back. So I wrote a list of the worst villains here.
Ooh.
So maybe I'll just throw them out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. How do we want to do this? I want to get this list of the captains up. Let me see if I can add an overlay.
But for those of you who are joining us, we had to split this into 2 parts because we had like 22 or 23 captains on our list, and that was just there they are. So we're going with the odd numbers today.
Yes.
So we're splitting up some Star Trek captains, but also some captains from other science fiction universes. And I think that's going to be an interesting mix.
That is going to be, yes.
It is going to be a fun mix. I'm very excited. I think splitting it up was a good idea because we ended up with a lot of captains.
We did.
Yeah. So let's start. Let's talk Captain Picard.
Picard, our number 1.
I just have to say, Picard is not going to be stranded in the Delta Quadrant for more than like 5 minutes because Q's going to realize he's out there and be bored and be like, "No, excuse me, no, just bring the whole ship back." Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
But on the other side of that, I think Q could.
Equation.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Q could think it's humorous that Picard is in the Delta Quadrant, stranded from most of his officers, and he might find it kind of funny that he himself could then become, in his words, Picard's number 1.
Oh my.
That would be so. Picard would go insane.
Okay, so I'm going to say this right now. Picard would die within 2 seasons, right? Because all else is equal, right? It's his crew there, right? So, right, like we came to the conclusion.
Are they on Voyager's crew or are they having their own crew?
Does he have Voyager's crew or not? That's a question.
I was thinking they would have mostly Voyager's crew, but we could.
Okay.
I was thinking Voyager's crew as well, because when we get to characters like Han Solo, he doesn't have a crew, so he needs them.
So on Voyager's crew, so Picard's there instead of Janeway. Q comes in, swaps them, and laughs. He doesn't last past season 2. The cliffhanger, or like, no, there's no way. Because Seska would kill him. And there is no chance
it would be a big problem for Picard. I agree.
I agree with that.
I mean, there's a good chance she would know his trauma, first and foremost, right? Like the Four Lights trauma. She's a Cardassian.
Yeah, that's true. And I just feel like the tension between Seska and Janeway, I don't want to say it's because they were both women in power, but there was a tension there that I feel like there wouldn't have existed with Picard. I think she would have been more violent with Picard,
Probably.
or less
I see that.
less caring maybe to what happened.
The other side of that is I don't think Picard would even give a chance to the Maquis to join the crew. Like, they would be locked up in quarters. Like, do you think he would allow Chakotay and the others? Like, B'Elanna wouldn't be chief engineer.
So
There's
that's
no
an
chance.
interesting point.
There's
Because
no
if
chance.
if the Maquis is not, if he doesn't allow the Maquis to be crew members, then who is the first officer? Is it Tuvok? Does
Tuvok.
Tuvok become? And then Tuvok's not going to fall for Seska's like baby story, so she'd have to find somebody else.
Well, so the Maquis are still there, but they're like in like lockdown in quarters, and maybe he lets them like clean the holosuite filters or something. You know, like he's not giving B'Elanna chief engineer. He's not letting Tom Paris pilot the ship.
We have an interesting comment here. Can we show this? Let me see.
Ooh, we can.
Picard would allow them to work, but not make them senior officers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not sure if that's better than just locked in their quarters, because unless we have B'Elanna as chief engineer, she's pretty genius. Tom
Yeah.
I
Paris,
feel if he has them working
necessary.
and not officers, they might just try to overthrow his ship like they did
Oh,
in the
yeah.
beginning. So then he's got a different problem on his hand.
yeah, like everybody talks about Picard being this great diplomat, and Picard had nothing over Janeway. I'm gonna throw that out there. He doesn't.
I
He
can't
really
argue with
doesn't.
that. I can't argue with that.
I think also. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say he's just too rigid. I think.
I think when they get to the Borg too,
Oh God.
that's going to be a problem. Especially, I don't remember exactly how the timelines match up, but I'm pretty sure his situation already happened by the time Voyager reaches the Borg, right?
Yeah.
So they would
Yeah.
already know him through the collective.
Yeah, because his situation happened before Deep Space Nine. And so everything in TNG is already done by the time they've made it to the Borg in the Delta Quadrant. But like he doesn't get past oh man, what were their name? The ones who had the phage. Like he doesn't-
Vidians.
Yeah.
The Vidian.
Like he doesn't get
Vidians.
past that. He doesn't-
Yeah, that's
he
what I was
loses half his
thinking.
crew.
I feel like the Vidians would
Vidians.
be a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And species 8472. Although I think
See,
Picard would
they're
survive
gonna
that.
I think, they're going to be a problem for everyone. I think Picard would be less likely to even try and get back to the Alpha Quadrant in the way that Janeway did. I think he's more likely to set up like, oh, we're just going to make a colony and then like venture out from our little colony and maybe we'll get home eventually. We'll find a wormhole, but it's going to be more, I'm going to make our own little version of Starfleet here and make a little base and maybe we'll run
Wait
into
for the Alpha Quadrant to come to the Delta
Yeah.
Quadrant in 70 years, and his offspring are running the Federation 2.0. Yeah. I think this is a good comment. He didn't have enough personnel to run Voyager without using that key. So,
No,
but I
he didn't.
think Joseph is right. I think he would try. He would try not to use them.
I think
He would try.
really hard not to.
He would promote Kim though. Kim would be like,
He would.
I mean, Kim would get an immediate promotion because
He
he
would-
is Starfleet. You know, like that-
100%. That is the benefit of having Picard on Voyager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kim gets a promotion.
Kim gets a promotion. Tom Paris
agree
is
with
not a lieutenant. He stays
No.
like he observes. Period. Yeah, I mean, we're just not looking at a good situation here with Picard. I don't think that might rub some Trek bros the wrong way, but I'm okay with that. Actually,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement here. I think that circumstances kind of are working against Picard from the very beginning. When you mentioned the Maquis, I'd forgotten about that. You're right. He would struggle with that right off the bat.
Yeah.
he will. Okay. Next
We can-
one.
Sorry, Picard.
Sorry,
Picard?
Picard?
Nope. We should have graphics for that. Like button.
He didn't
or
make it
something.
so.
He did not make it so. I love that. I don't know why, but I love that.
Also,
Yeah.
as an added addendum there, Neelix would never get his tea right, I don't think. And I
Oh
Yeah.
think
my
he would just
God.
eventually lose it.
Could you imagine?
I think Janeway doesn't get enough respect for the patience that she had with Neelix.
Really had so much patience with him trying to give her not coffee.
Not yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what's Picard gonna do? There's coffee in that nebula. There's no Earl Grey.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
What would that's a whole separate like we could have a whole episode like how many horrors would Picard inflict upon others without access to Earl Grey? Like
I do
I
think, though, I think he would have faced well against the clown. Do you remember that episode? That
Oh,
creepy
yeah.
episode?
Yeah, I think he would have done very well.
I think he would have done well against that threat.
yeah, the clown. I hate the clown.
Ugh. Ugh. I don't love rewatching that episode because it does actually like
It
give you
creeps me
the
out.
it's creepy. They did a
Like-
really good job.
Yeah.
The
Like,
acting
it's a
is
subconscious creepy.
incredible.
It's like, yeah, it's weird.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Moving on.
You said Picard? No.
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk. I love
So,
Kirk. I want
love
to
Kirk
that.
too.
I want to start by saying I love Kirk. Okay, in every form we've seen him, I love Kirk. He's dying.
You
He's
think?
dying. Yes,
I-
absolutely. He's dying.
So I'm
He-
torn here. I'm
Okay.
He
torn.
needs to blow up his ship every season or two. You know, he does not have Starfleet there to repair his ship, give him backup. No, he's going to be fighting the Kazon until they're destroyed. He's not going to be running away and moving on.
I think Kirk sleeps himself into an alien STD within 3 episodes.
See, I this is a difficult question because I feel like what we're really asking here is who is a good leader and who is a good commander, not necessarily like who's a good captain, right? It's just kind of like who's good at like inspiring the troops. I think he would struggle with Chakotay as his number one. I feel like Chakotay would be replaced with somebody else as number one. And this was what I was going to say, what Justin says here. Older Kirk, better than TOS Kirk. I feel like, yeah, movie version Kirk would have no problem with this.
Yeah.
I feel like TOS Kirk might just think the Delta Quadrant is so cool. Why don't we just stay here? Like, then we are exploring the farthest reaches of the universe. I mean, that is our duty, is to like just kind of go out beyond. I feel like he wouldn't really necessarily try to get home.
I can see that.
Yeah. He likes adventure, and he's a lot more energetic than I think Picard is as far as style. So I think he would. Like, let's say he does start exploring and they go generally the same path. I don't think the obstacles with him in charge of Voyager would take him down as quickly as Picard. He wouldn't trust a Kazon. He would
Right.
probably, honestly, if he had any chance to wipe them out, he would have wiped them out, right? Like,
I agree with that. I think so too.
and he would not have done it just like, oh, I don't like these guys, I'm gonna just like commit atrocities. But when the species that had oppressed the Kazon, I forget their name, but when they show up and they try this whole assassination thing, and this is after like, months and months and months of intrigue, he'd be like down with it. Okay, you killed them. You took care of it for me. I turned a blind eye. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I guarantee you his first officer would be Tuvok in this entire situation.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
would choose Tuvok as well. And I think on that note, I think he would do the same thing with Species 8472. I think he'd be like, we just wipe them out like we did the Kazon. We just, we just do that. We move on. I think the Borg would be his biggest threat, but he would have 7 of 9 by then. So I feel like this is a situation where, for me, the crew is uplifting him. Like, he's not gonna. I feel like the situations where he would put himself the most in danger would maybe be with the Herosian and their whole like, we're like, predator preying people. There he might run into a problem because I think his adventurous, like, I can do this on my own spirit might be a big problem. But I feel like, as much as TOS Kirk looks like he does things on his own, he really does listen to his crew.
He does.
He does.
So I feel like if his crew stepped up and was like, dude, like, listen to us. And I think having a Vulcan helps.
Yeah, but I think that, but here's the problem.
Okay.
Tuvok was not first officer. It was Chakotay. And despite how I feel about the actor, Chakotay was a good first officer for Janeway.
He was.
Tuvok would not have been good because of his logic in the Delta Quadrant. It requires a little bit of adventurous spirit. And I think this is what will doom Kirk is.
Chakotay as first officer?
Chakotay as first officer. Or not, it's Tuvok as first officer because Kirk's if we're going to say a later era Kirk, he's pining for Spock. Let's just be honest. He's pining for Spock.
He is pining for Spock.
It's the only reason he wants to get back to the Alpha Quadrant.
I mean, in the motion picture, and I know not many people have stomached the motion picture, but in the motion picture, and Marty, I know we've talked about this, and your experience with it.
I've got feelings.
He was very specific. He wanted a Vulcan on the bridge. And so the transporter accident where he kills the Vulcans, not he doesn't kill them on purpose, like they are transporting and there's a malfunction. Like he has a soft spot. He wants Vulcans there. He needs the logic to play off of. And I think this is the biggest problem. And
you don't think, so I guess the question would he survive long enough to get 7 and have 7 be his Vulcan?
Well, and so here's the thing.
I don't think he would survive long enough to get 7. And I'm not sure that I love Kirk. I just want to say that before I talk shit about him. But I don't see him having a female first officer.
No.
That's a fair point.
No.
That is a fair point.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
so, like, even if he did get all the way to 7,
he'd be too distracted.
He is very easily distracted. Love him dearly, but there's no way.
Now the question here is, would he even keep 7? Right? I wanted to bring that up because it's like, it's Kirk. Have you seen 7 of 9? Why would he not keep her around? Like, I'm just saying.
I think he would try and keep her around. I think she'd beat the shit out of him at least once.
Oh, she would. She would absolutely.
I think he would keep her around. I think the question is, would she stay? Because we see this relationship between Janeway and 7 is so important to 7's development, and her seeing Janeway as not only a friend but kind of a mother figure. And she wouldn't get that with Kirk. So would she even see a reason to stay? I don't know that she would.
So.
No.
Because Janeway kind of instills in her that motivation to return home.
Yes.
So here's the thing. She doesn't get to the point where she heals, and this is a good point from Gregory, right? When she's still Borgified. Look, it's Kirk. Kirk doesn't care. He sees Kirk would not survive past that encounter because he would do anything for this woman, despite how she looks, and immediately she would betray him and kill them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I
mean, okay. I'm not, but I don't think he even makes it that far.
Oh no, I think he,
unless it's movies, Kirk and Spock is in the Alpha Quadrant, and then I am absolutely positive he makes it back to Spock. Like he makes it back to Spock.
Because as we can see from the audience,
Spock is a powerful force.
It's powerful. That friendship or whatever it is. It's a driving factor.
He
we wanna-
sacrificed his ship and his career for Spock.
On
Yes.
more than one occasion. I actually just rewatched Amok Time last night,
Yeah.
and he does the same thing. He disobeys the orders from the Admiralty to go take Spock to Vulcan.
hmm
So
It's
early on in his career, he's already making career choices based on
I mean,
on
Spock has some res. I'm just gonna say
He
that.
does.
I can't
In
argue.
every universe.
In any universe.
Yes.
Do we need
I
to bring
would
up
go-
Kelvin, Kirk?
Yeah.
Is
I
there a
mean,
difference? Do we think that
I
there's
don't think there's a significant difference.
No.
We still
Kirk
have
is Kirk.
at the bones. We still have Kirk.
Yeah. And he doesn't have I mean, the thing is he's got Voyager's crew, not his. He doesn't have Spock, he doesn't have Bones.
true?
He doesn't even have he doesn't have Scotty. Like nobody from Maquis gets into leadership because Kirk's also a military man and he's like going to be very strict about that. Like he will not put them in he won't put them in the brig. He will use them as like the help just like Picard would. Like that's the same problem.
Yeah.
Voyager has more lens flare. Okay.
I do have to say though, I do think that if Kirk met Q in the Delta Quadrant, I think Q would treat Kirk a little bit like Picard and push them along a little bit. I think he would help to an extent, to a point, until he gets annoyed.
Yeah.
I was doing my cosplay last night because I hadn't shaved yet, and there are a few clips, right? So I've got another one recorded that I have to post, but he likes the speeches. He loves the
Oh.
speeches.
He does.
Like when he's talking to Mirror Universe Spock and he's like, take control of the ship, save these people, you can do it. And Spock pushes back, well, a man would need the power. And he's just like pushing and pushing. By the way, it's Prime Directive, fuck the Prime Directive, like totally not even a thing, right? He's just like, overthrow the bad people, Spock. Use this powerful ship and crush them beneath your feet and be a good person. I'm like, so much. Anyway, you're right. He would. But Q would be so tempting to Kirk.
He would.
Yeah.
There's an element of power there that I think, especially young TOS Kirk, I think that
Yeah.
there would be, yeah.
Very moral guy in his sense of morality, right? He would survive if it wasn't for the fact that he would probably die in season 1, some horrible disease.
I just don't think so.
He's
He's
got
got
some
the
spirit.
EMH to help him out.
Yeah. The doctor's there.
Okay,
He's got the
but
same bedside manner as Bones. They'd probably get along great.
they would get along great, but here's the thing, right? Janeway nor anybody on the crew is busy trying to do it with every alien along the way. Gendered or non-gendered. Like, this is Kirk we're talking about.
You know,
Kim
it's a good
has
point.
that one episode.
Well,
I'm sure other people were doing things.
I guess I didn't consider the fact that when Kirk turns into a lizard salamander, he might decide to stay that way. Like,
That's fair.
There's so much about that. Okay, let's.
I do
does
think,
not
as
survive.
like a closing note, I think he would have done well at the Year of Hell, though.
He would have.
No, it would have just started as the Year of Hell with like
Started
his
as the
cobbled
Year of
together ship. Like, I don't think Kirk does well without Starfleet there to like repair and give him new ships.
Diplomats is all I'm saying. Okay. The next one I'm looking forward to. Burnham.
Ah, I love Michael.
And I'm not even putting the pictures up. What am I doing?
I
I'm
don't
failing
know.
at my technical side.
I
Anyway,
got
let's
you
talk.
the pictures. That was
did.
my job.
You did your job.
So Michael Burnham in the Delta Quadrant with the Voyager ship and crew. I think she'd do really well with the crew, first of all.
her
And
and the
I
crew would
think,
do really well.
yeah, and I think considering
Gorgeous.
her history, I think she would have no problem helping the Maquis integrate into
Yeah.
Voyager.
No problem at all.
Yeah,
I think they would be integrated faster with her than with Janeway.
I think you're right. I would, yeah.
Janeway had the idea, we need to do this, but she was still resistant because of who she was as a person. And I think Michael would be, they would integrate much faster. There would be very little, if any, talk of mutiny.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of parallels between Burnham and Janeway, and even just their storylines. There's a lot of parallels there with having to be away from their universe, their families, their friends, away from Starfleet. So there's a lot of parallels there where I think they make similar decisions when they're in command.
she's
Yeah.
very compassionate, so I think like even the Borg situation she would handle very similarly. Like she has a growth period, right? So like it does matter if it's like early on Burnham or later Burnham. In my mind, even early on Burnham will do well.
Well, I think Burnham from the early seasons would, despite her situation and how she's feeling about Starfleet and everybody, I feel like she's conscious enough of herself and her own abilities to be able to say, maybe I should not be captaining the ship. Maybe I need to pass it to somebody else.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think she would find somebody that she thought would do a better job in that situation. So I think she still takes it, but I think there is going to be a lot more self-doubt in the beginning while she finds her footing. And it would be more relying on the people around her than Janeway's a little bit more settled in as a captain and doesn't take everything to like committee and let people decide as a group. And I think Michael would probably be more of a, hey, we're stranded. Let's talk about it. Let's make decisions. It might
that could be her
more
downfall,
democratic.
though.
Yeah, it could
That
be.
could be her downfall, not being able to make a split-second decision on her own. I think Janeway figured out very early on, and probably because she had experience as a captain already, that she had to do that. And I think Burnham at the end of Discovery absolutely would have no problem with that. But yeah, early on, I think she would struggle.
Yeah, I agree.
I love this. Season 3 Burnham will provide you more of a pirate vessel.
I like that too.
I like pirates. I can see that. I think it would be a great pirate ship.
I'm gonna say Burnham survives, Voyager survives, but just barely, because if we're talking about when she first starts being captain, it's going to be a little sketchy at first because she's not as seasoned as Janeway is. I say that because of the trauma that she went through. She was a first officer and stuff.
Yeah, and I think if we give her the character arc that she has throughout Discovery from beginning to end, if we took that and just placed it in Voyager, I think you're right. I think the beginning she would really struggle, and then towards the end there'd be a lot of success there.
Yeah, I agree.
Would she allow Tuvix to live?
I'm going to say
no.
this. I'm going to say this right now. Janeway was right, and Burnham would be right too.
I agree.
I
she has too much compassion, I think, to allow Tuvix to stay Tuvix when she could split two people. I think she would always pick in a trolley situation, she's always going to pick the more people. Two is more than one.
I think she's also going to go with the fact that the original people didn't, like Tuvok and Neelix didn't have a choice. It wasn't a choice.
But
it wasn't like they died. They didn't die. So
no. But I think there's one difference that I'm going to put out there. I think she convinces Tuvix that it's okay to be split.
Ooh.
I think that she's got the empathy to do that.
I do think that she would be better at convincing and would be more patient and
Yeah, she
wait.
definitely has more compassion than Janeway does. I can agree with that. I think that's a really good observation.
I think it takes longer, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think she presents it as, here's the option. And Tuvix is like, no, I don't want to be split. But I think he's eventually talked around to it. Because he does still have Neelix and Tuvok like in his head. And I think they would both choose to be split. And I think given time and compassion, he'd make the choice to be split himself. So
another thing too, which never really comes up in the Tuvix conversation, because there aren't really any other like significant Vulcans on Voyager except for one, but he's kind of out there. Michael has experience with Vulcans. She grew up with Vulcans, so she knows how to reach somebody both compassionately and through logic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that would be the big turning point for trying to sway him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's hard. Like Burnham, that's really all we can say. Like she survives, probably not as easily as Janeway, but she does.
I feel like the ship is like not salvageable when they get back, though.
Oh yeah. It's probably, I can see her ending up with like more than one ship at that point, or having a new ship where she like just could not get Voyager to continue. But yeah, I see her definitely getting home.
I think she has a dinosaur ship.
I want that to be true. I want everyone to have a dinosaur ship.
I just think that when I think about the major like conflicts that Janeway faces in Voyager, I just feel like Michael would confront them very similarly.
Yeah,
I think so.
They have very similar styles.
They do.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Let's do it. This one's going to be fun.
Okay.
I have so many questions about this one though.
Okay.
Georgia. Well, I included 2 different pictures. I got regular Giorgio, and then I got Mirror Universe Emperor.
And why did I?
So the question is, are we talking about one specifically, or are we going to talk about both of them? Because I think they both have different answers. I don't think it's because they are very, very different.
This Giorgio,
I agree. Okay.
I think survives just fine. I think she's very.
I don't think so.
See, I was going to say I don't think she makes it.
I don't think so. She made some really stupid decisions about the Klingons, and I say that with lots of love, and I understand why she made those decisions. But she had her first officer standing there knowing more about Klingons, and she was like, "No, these guys are going to be fine. We're just going to chat. We're going to chat. We're going to talk. It's going to be cool." I think she gets her crew killed very, very quickly because she's way too trusting.
Joseph, you want to weigh in since you disagree?
I think that the difference with the Klingons is she's going diplomat mode. She's Starfleet. They've dealt with Klingons before. She thinks she has this, versus being thrown into the Delta Quadrant with a whole new crew. I think they hold her back and advise her a little different. But she seems she's very kind. She's okay. You may have convinced me that she's more of a Jimmy Carter than anything else.
I mean, she's not listening to her first officer. Like, she's not listening to Burnham.
Yeah,
who has more experience. So you're saying, oh, the crew's gonna help her. The crew's gonna like get her on the right path. Like, why?
Like
she didn't even survive in her own show. Like, let's be honest.
That's what I was gonna say. I was waiting for it. I was gonna say like she didn't make it. She didn't make it very long in Discovery. So
I love her. I do
love her too.
But...
Okay. So let's talk about the other Giorgio, right?
I think that's a very complicated question because is Michael in the Alpha Quadrant, and does she know that? Because she's going to do a lot of stuff to get back to the Alpha Quadrant, to get back to her daughter. However, If she doesn't want to get back to her daughter, she's just going to take over the Delta Quadrant and be
Yeah.
done with it. Like,
She's just gonna
why would she
conquer.
go back to the Alpha Quadrant? The only reason she would is if Michael was there and she wanted to get to her daughter.
So the cool thing
Otherwise-
about go ahead. Sorry.
No.
No, I was
I'm
just saying
done.
that the cool thing about the Delta Quadrant is that there are a lot of the way the Delta Quadrant is set up, it's kind of already the mirror universe. It's
Yeah.
just the species are very, violent. There's a lot of factions against each other. There's a lot of war. I feel like she would really thrive in that environment. And I think she would capitalize on the success she had in the mirror universe, and she would bring it into the Delta Quadrant. And I think she could very easily get the ship back to the Alpha Quadrant if she wanted to, but the ship is going to be a very different ship at the end. It's going to be like a very militaristic ship
Oh, yeah.
by the
Right.
time they get to the end.
She doesn't go back. She doesn't go
Yeah.
back. You know why? Because she takes over the Kazon in like half a season.
Yeah.
The minute one Maj calls her a woman,
It's
Nope.
over. It's over.
Kala has no chance. He's gone.
Kala
Seska, she
is
wouldn't fall for. Or Seska would. Seska would support her.
yes.
Well, I feel like
Seska
that would
becomes
never
first
happen.
officer.
Yeah, Seska
Seska
would definitely be
becomes.
on her bridge.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is exactly the spirit that we're working from here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Q's
absolutely.
not going to show up and mess with her. He's not going to be
No.
interested in that.
No,
The
Eunice is
Herosian,
interested.
she's going to find that's going to be fun for her.
That's
She would
going to
just-
be
she
a
would
fun
join
game
in.
for her.
Well, here's the thing: she's not going to fight the Herosian with just Voyager. By the time she gets to the Herosian, she is like it's like
There's
a
a fleet.
Borg-powered fleet
Yeah.
coming at the Herosian. Like she's just gonna look for like every challenge possible. Like, look, she survives. They never get home. Is all
Yeah,
I'm
they
saying.
never get home.
I
agree.
agree with that. And can you imagine what Seven of Nine would be like under Giorgio's like lead, like under
I'm-
her like guidance?
It would be so evil and so hot. Is
I
what I'm
mean,
gonna say.
it would've-
Exactly. What Joseph
mean,
said. Yeah.
Seven of Nine by the end of the series then would have had her own ship, and she
Yeah.
would be
Oh,
like
yeah.
second in command of Giorgio's Delta Quadrant fleet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It would be devastating because she would
I really want
absolutely.
this series now, actually. If somebody
Fans
would
like the
make this
fanfic has
series.
to exist somewhere.
I think we were cheated by not really getting Mirror Universe Voyager. Like, I wanted Mirror Universe 7 of 9.
Oh.
So,
Okay, never mind. I'm not going to say anything that I want to say right now.
I mean,
No, now
I
you
was
have
always
to.
I was always disappointed that we didn't get Mirror Universe Voyager as well, because
yes.
I feel like there could have been some really exciting situations there. It's cool that we got spoilers. Do we spoiler Prodigy?
No spoilers.
No spoilers, but
No spoilers. Van, you haven't watched it,
With-
right?
Prodigy?
Yeah, or have you?
I've been in the room while it was on.
oh, okay. Well, I won't say anything. But we
okay.
needed more Voyager. We needed Voyager in the Mirror Universe. I think that would have given us a lot of look at how everybody would have interacted with each other.
Yes.
But I think you guys are. I think Giorgio would turn the Delta Quadrant into the Mirror Universe, and she would take it over. And there's no reason to go back then.
Yeah.
And Harry Kim would not get promoted.
No.
Harry Kim would be like a belt around Giorgio's waist. Is what would have happened to Harry.
Unfortunately, probably.
Like, or he's like her like servant.
Or he's like running the Agonizer.
Yes, he's like running the Agonizer, and he's just like a side piece for her. Is what I'm thinking. Like,
I'm getting like DS9 Mirror Universe vibes here with what you're saying, like with Kira. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I kind of get that feel.
I can see
Okay,
it. I can
are
see
we
it.
ready? Are we ready?
Who are we moving on to next?
We're going a lot faster than I thought.
We are.
We are doing good. We're doing good.
Captain Freeman of the Cerritos.
I love her so much.
I love her too.
I love her so much.
She doesn't stand a chance in hell. I'm sorry.
No, I love her so much. No, absolutely not.
I think she dies trying to escape from the explosion of the array.
What?
Without
I'm not killing her off that quickly.
without her daughter And the lower deckers, she does not survive at all.
Okay. Give her her daughter. Now, how far does she get?
Uh,
Like,
she makes it in 3 years.
I
okay.
think
Like-
species
Okay.
8472 would be the destructive point there, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
I
can
think
see
her
maybe
daughter
not
and
that
her
far.
dynamic, like, it changes her style. It changes her.
Yeah.
Um,
I think if she has her daughter, she makes it a lot farther. So if we have Mariner, then I think at least season 3. I'm not sure all the way home though.
at least season 3. Probably season 4, right? She gets to the Borg. But I think the problem becomes the Borg species 84. I can't even, like, my brain is not working in the
Random
morning.
numbers. The
Yeah, string of
species random numbers.
I think the Hirogen, like, kill them. Like, it's they are not on a fancy ship for a reason, and it's because without Mariner, Freeman was a good captain, but not a great captain. And I don't think she has enough time to adapt to being a great captain. Like Mariner, I think, could lead the ship no problem.
Ooh,
But
that's an
that's not
interesting.
that's not
an
a topic
interesting
for now.
discussion. No, yeah, but that's an
No.
interesting discussion for the
That's an
future.
interesting idea. What would it take to get her to take the role of not a lower decker? Like what adversity would she have to go through to actually like be like, fine? She's definitely going to be the reluctant leader.
Oh my god. This, right? Without Mariner actually being mature and in command, this is what does the ship in, is the nonsense.
Yeah, Mariner and her nonsense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the problem. There's not.
I think it's
there's not
funny because I think when a lot of people talk about Voyager, they talk about how it being more of a light-hearted show, and on the outside, I think it feels that way. But if you look at the thematic elements, it's quite dark. It's quite heavy, and the choices that the characters in command have to make in order to survive, they have to be offset by episodes of the Doctor singing to Tuvok. Because without those episodes, it would be like DS9 on crack. It would be so heavy.
Yes, I agree.
I think it's because they had those lighthearted episodes more so. I think more so than DS9. DS9 had a few.
Yeah, I think they had more than DS9.
Yeah, that's why the tone feels different, and just the blatant Trek Boy sexism, I think, is the other side of that.
Yeah.
I'm so sad that Freeman's not going to make it through the Delta Quadrant. But I was also kind of on the same ship, haha, there that she wouldn't necessarily make it, and not necessarily because she was bad, or not necessarily because she didn't have Mariner, but I just felt like as a starship captain, she doesn't seem to have that extra something needed to push her into the same ranking as characters like Janeway or Cisco. And I feel like that's why her daughter is the lead of the show. It's not her. It's not the captain of the ship. It's like the opposite of the other Star Treks for a reason.
Correct. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah. Very excited about this.
So let's venture out of Star Trek.
Han Solo.
Let's talk about Han Solo. I mean, a big Han Solo fan here.
Huge.
I love Han Solo.
Oh yeah.
He's not making it at all. The crew is going to mutiny on him.
I do have written in my notes, can they encase him in carbonite? Because then he makes it all the way home. Like, that's how he makes it, is in carbonite.
But then he's not in charge. That's
he's not in charge.
No. In charge? Absolutely not.
I think the crew has no chance of making it home if he's in charge and making all the major command decisions. Yeah. He's too selfish.
A Starfleet crew would never put up with him for very long. And I think if he had Chewie with him, he could hold out a little bit longer, just because, who wants to
Chewie's the
argue with a
brains.
Wookiee?
Yeah. I'm
But
sorry,
yeah,
but
no,
Chewie's also the brains. He keeps the ship going.
he is.
That's
He's the
true.
brains.
I also feel like Han is going to sympathize more with the Maquis than he is with Starfleet. And
Oh,
he's
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
going to be like, well, they should have more power maybe on this ship. And
Well-
his command like organization skills are not going to help him there because he
So it
doesn't
comes
have
down to this: he doesn't care about the Prime Directive,
No,
right?
no.
He's not. He's morally, he aligns with good, but he's not even going to try. Like, why would he want to go back to some dusty old Alpha Quadrant with rules? Like, I think he makes an alliance with the Kazon, and they just barter, and he doesn't conquer. That's not Han Solo, but he's just like him, and like Neelix is his first officer. Is what happens.
What? Because Neelix knows the area. He knows the trade route.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
He's
I
a
can see that.
junker. He has a ship. Like, this is his new first officer. Congratulations. They don't make it out of the solar system.
No, I don't think they try to.
No.
I don't think they tried
He's,
to.
he's
either.
just jumping around doing.
And I think
odd jobs.
if he doesn't get mutinied by the crew,
Which he will.
which he would, I mean, he has really no reason to go back or to
No.
try to go back.
I think the
There's
Maquis,
profit out there. There's profit there. He's kind of a
the
Ferengi in this
Maquis, the Maquis
situation.
help him out. But here's the weird thing. In my head, right? The Maquis join up with the crew. They don't have roles, but I think it's Chakotay and Tuvok that decide that he has to go. And they just phaser him in the back and drag him to the bridge or to the brig and like lock him up.
Encase him in carbonite.
They encase him in carbonite. Seska would doom him. Seska would
Seska would do him.
absolutely.
Seska would destroy him.
No,
I
Han Solo has
mean-
nothing against her. He can't stand up against her.
Somehow he's joined the Cardassian Union from the Delta Quadrant. Is what happens with Seska.
yeah.
I mean, is it really all that difference than working for the Hutts?
No,
I mean, not really.
no.
Yeah, I think we can make all the Star
And I
Wars
think-
bros angry and say Han Solo does not make it.
He's not saving the crew, but he's just out there to save himself, really. And especially young Han, when we don't have Prince Leia and everybody else involved later, he'd probably be happy to find out that he's not in an area that knows him, that he's not wanted. There's no bounty on his head. Boba
he
Fett's
wouldn't-
not going to find him in the Delta Quadrant. So
But he would immediately have a bounty on his head after like 5 minutes in the Delta Quadrant. Like,
fair.
this is Han Solo.
Yeah, no. He would make his reputation fast. It'd be
Scruffy
fine.
looking nerf herder that he is. No. Okay.
Poor Han.
Han doesn't stand a chance. Like,
No.
no. Okay, we're
I mean,
moving on.
I think he'd like Voyager though as a ship. I think as a ship,
Oh,
he'd be like,
yeah.
this is cool.
Lots of cargo space. Of course he
Lots of
loves
space.
Voyager.
Can hide a lot of things in those Jeffries tubes. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Yes, he'd love it.
He would.
He'd love it.
Okay. That's I mean, it really not much discussion of Han here. So
Well, wait. But we should end it with this.
Han Solo did the Delta run in 12 parsecs. Yes.
okay.
Okay, moving on.
My
William
favorite.
Adama. I love this man. I just finished a rewatch of Battlestar. So obviously
So you should kick us off.
Yeah, obviously he makes it back to Earth. There's no question. I mean, if he has the technology of Voyager, if you watch the show, it's not really a sci-fi show in that we get a ton of techno babble. We don't have a lot of super cool technology like in Voyager. It's definitely more of a character-driven drama show, and I love it. But with the technology of Voyager, only having to keep track of one ship, not a whole fleet. He was in charge of a fleet, and he was protecting them with like a battleship he was taking to the junkyard, not a
Yeah.
just released, fresh out of the box ship on its
He
first
had
mission.
guns and missiles. They had no lasers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying
And he was
did-
fighting diplomacy as well, because each ship in the beginning has like their own needs and
Yes.
their own demands. And on the Voyager, everybody would be supporting him and his decisions. He wouldn't
Yeah.
have to worry about that.
He's military, so he does not give the Maquis positions.
I think he
Keep that
does.
in mind.
I think he does.
Well-
I think it takes longer than Janeway because he does end up giving Cylons positions. And
that's true.
not
Point.
even
That's a
just
good
at
point.
the end. Pretty early on, he's like, okay, yeah, but you're a good Cylon, so it's okay.
He's going to have a minor freak out when he hits the Borg, though.
Yes. I think he's okay though.
I
think he's
actually
okay.
think he probably does as well or better than Janeway in this. Given everything that he had to do and what he faced, I don't think the Borg are going to be a big deal because he's got people on that ship who can explain their society, and he's just going to be Adama about it. He's kind of a badass.
He is. I'm not gonna take out kinda. He is just a badass.
And I
he's
think it's
awesome.
cool that if you think about it, it's the same storyline. It's we're trying to get
Yeah.
home, so he has the same storyline that Janeway has. And I think you definitely hit a good point there, Van, when you said that technology was basically his biggest failing on the Galactica. Like if he had technology that was reliable every single
Yes.
time they had to jump, then it wouldn't have been such a problem. But he wouldn't have that problem with Voyager. So it would be the interspecies conflicts that's the problem, not the technology
But
of the ship.
he can handle that. He can.
Yeah, I
handle
think he can too.
I mean, he was doing diplomacy among other humans who he had to get along with, not just run away from or blow up. So I don't think the diplomacy will be a huge issue for him.
I
The
think he
Borg,
brings it.
I think, would be a challenge, but not a huge challenge. And we get to the Herodians, and that's not much different than when they were on New Caprica.
Yeah, I
think the Vidians might be one of the harder problems that he would face. But I think he would probably face it similar to the way Janeway did it.
Fair.
I think,
or he would just
doesn't
let them
face
have
this-
Neelix and just keep going. Fine, take Neelix in his lungs. We're gone.
I think he doesn't face any of this alone, though.
True.
I think he actually gets other ships to come along. Not because they have to, but I think he ends up building this alliance because Adama said first, yes, first of all, he's blown away by the fact that there are other species out there. So I really think he will try to find help to bring the ship along in a safer way. And in his mind, that's a fleet. Right? So I think he does everything he can to have a fleet with them. So I don't think the Borg or the Herodian are a big problem because he's not one ship against them all.
I can't argue with that.
I can't either. I mean, I just from the moment I thought of Adama for this one, I thought he has to make it.
Yeah,
because he made it on less.
Yes.
Yeah. Way less.
He made it with a lot less.
Yeah.
With a lot more baggage. Because I do think adding a fleet adds baggage. They had so many ships that he had to protect and feed and take care of. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
Who's
I'm worried about this one because I'm like, where do we start? Do we consider them as separate entities or do we look at them as one individual doctor?
They're all very different. And I think the answer changes slightly between each of them. And I have not watched enough Classic Who to break down any of the classic doctors.
We each pick one. So.
Okay. You pick one, Joseph, and go first.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna pick Peter Capaldi because nobody else is gonna pick Peter Capaldi because nobody
I
else
love
likes.
Peter. It's the angry
Okay.
eyebrows.
This is why we're the same person, by the way, Van. Because yes, I mean it's. First of all, he survives. The doctor's clever.
I
The
think that
doctor's
I think he
upgrading
is.
the ship. Like I, the Maquis are integrated immediately. Like there's not a problem. The doctor is very forgiving and gives people chances. And I think, especially Peter Capaldi, is going to not be sitting around with a ship like Voyager without trying to upgrade the hell out of it. Like he's just going to
Yeah.
take B'Elanna to the side because he knows Mr. Carey is not going to cut it as far as chief engineer. Like I see him doing exactly the same here, right? He doesn't even have to have Chakotay try to convince him. He's like, nope, this is the engineer. She's she's bright. Um, this dude, he's a nice enough mediocre dude, but he's going to be her backup. Like that's the way it is. Harry becomes like fleet admiral in like episode 3. Like Capaldi is just going to play everybody's strengths up.
Yeah. Yeah.
His version of the Doctor, I think, is good at that. And I think the biggest problem is it takes 10 times as long to get home because he's going to run into things like the Vidians with the phage, and he's going to realize, hey, they're only bad because they're suffering. And the
Right.
Doctor cannot let people suffer if he can help it.
I agree with that.
So he can make
100%.
it back. 100% can make it back, but he cannot sit there and let people suffer. And even the fact that he's kind of grumpy, right, at this point in his life. I don't think it takes very long for people to warm up to him and for him to kind of just be the Doctor again.
I think all of the Doctors have the added benefit of the fact that Voyager actually goes through a lot of time travel episodes.
It does.
Yes.
And that's not going to be a problem for any of the Doctors, I don't think.
In particular, the Year of Hell. Like, this is not a problem. The minute one torpedo that is the time phased hits the ship, he whips out the sonic screwdriver and he's like, here, change the shields to this. Like, I think the Borg are going to be a problem for him because it's very Cyberman-ish and also like kind of Dalek-ish. So like he's going to have a hard time not trying to wipe them out or revert them back to their normal form.
Yeah, I think
like
the empathy would be an interesting dilemma for the Doctor and the Borg.
Yeah, because I think he has too much of it.
I think 12 would probably try and like take over the Borg and make them all their original parts again. I think he would try really, really hard. We wouldn't
Which
just
would
get
also
7,
explain why it
we'd
would take
get
him so
a
long
whole
to get
ship.
back.
Yeah. And then some of them would want to go home, so he'd have to take them home. Like he would get back, but it would be like he would have seen like 7 different generations of crew. He's still the captain, but like we're 7 generations in. So
Who do you think
12,
would be
12 makes it back?
Who do you think 12's number one companion on the ship is going to be?
That's a very good
Who
question.
fills that role?
Honestly, I think it's B'Elanna.
That was my first thought. I think it is
for
B'Elanna.
12. B'Elanna does make sense.
He needs somebody that shouts at him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think that B'Elanna, once she gets into that role, becomes like a better first officer than Chakotay.
I can see that.
Like look, B'Elanna's also empathetic and very moralistic because she was in the Maquis for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. People were suffering and it wasn't right, and she wanted to fix that wrong. Yeah,
The Doctor would see that. He would connect on that level with her. Yeah.
I think he would connect with the Maquis on a level that we don't see from any Starfleet captain, right? Even Janeway. Immediately, just because like if he hears her story, he doesn't care about these rules, right? He's very Han Solo and not caring about rules, but his empathy and his selflessness is something that keeps him like going. Now it's going to take longer just because of that, because it's to the extreme.
I think it helps that he's kind of grumpy too, because thinking of some of the other doctdoctors, I think their lack of that grumpiness might work against them in this scenario. But I do think 12. I think 12 would make it back.
12 would make it back.
Yeah. Okay.
Van, who do you want to choose?
The Ninth Doctor is my favorite. And I think he probably will upgrade Voyager as much as possible. But I think he's going to approach every situation differently than 12. He's still so angry.
I was going to say he's mad. He's mad.
He's just mad all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anyone on the crew of Voyager that is going to be able to like reach him and calm him down in the way that Rose and Jack both did. I'm not sure there's a good like person on the crew that would fill that role.
Paris.
I think maybe Paris and Kim would be the closest, but
yeah,
I
that's
see
a
him
hard
making
one.
some really rash decisions just because he's so angry. And if he doesn't have one of the crew that's going to talk him down, he was very self-destructive at the beginning of his season. And he did calm down and he did grow and he did change. So if we just take that character arc from his unfortunately only singular season that he had, he makes a ton of growth. He does change a lot. He does kind of find his empathy towards the end. So I think if he can find his empathy in the same way, I think they make it back, but I think they're a little bit more battered and bruised. Voyager takes hits.
Yeah.
I think they get back faster though, because he's not as empathetic. He's not stopping and helping every single species that they encounter along the way. He very much collects people and then is very serious about protecting them. Like that is his big character thing. He's like, I'm going to do everything to protect Rose, including sending her back against her will. Like he's going to choose the crew, and that's going to be like, okay, these people right here, we get them back. So I think faster, but it's going to be a rough ride.
I think he wipes out the Borg. I think he's so angry.
The
Borg don't survive. Like I don't think 7 even has a chance to be on the ship.
No, unfortunately, I think you're right. I think he hates that so much, and he just, unless somebody can talk him down.
Then, but I don't think, like you said, I don't think that there is a character, an individual character on the ship who could do that without years of a friendship. And even Paris and Kim, I mean, Kim, for me, Kim might be a closer.
I think Kim is,
but at the same time, I think Kim would have to have the strength to actually go up.
Kim doesn't have that.
And he doesn't.
Well, I mean, Rose didn't have that all the time. So, I mean, maybe Kim would find it in himself. But Rose was so important to him.
She was
so compassionate and understanding. And he really, really needed that.
I think it starts off rocky, but they do get back. And I say this only because the Doctor needs a companion, because that's his tie to humanity. And that's what keeps him empathetic, right? And after what 9 goes through, that is harder for him to reach. So it takes him a little bit longer. But I think once he does bond with Kim and Paris and the others, then he does become protective. And I think he basically turns Voyager into a TARDIS, and they just materialize back, and that's it.
He would definitely focus a lot on upgrading.
Yeah.
and changing things and getting them back with
The
weird
the way we
tabloid
saw
technology.
Galactica, the way we describe Galactica is the way he looks at Voyager.
Yes.
Ooh. Yes, good point. I like that.
Yeah, I see that.
This is an interesting comment. I'm just going to show it because
Yeah.
9 versus Q, a very different story than 12 versus Q,
Oh, so
I
different.
think.
Yeah. I think 12 and Q are like friends and
I
they have
agree.
tea.
Yeah.
I think 9 would not really
I,
tolerate.
Nine
I
punches
think
them.
9 would, yeah, he would pull a Cisco and just punch him in the face.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, okay, so we've got 2 doctors that we think would make it. So let's throw in one. I kind of think that 11 would not.
Okay.
And I don't know that I can really come up with a reason why I feel like 11 maybe wouldn't make it back. I feel like 10 would,
I feel like 10 would.
but 11, there's something about 11 where I just feel like he needed his companions more than
A
they needed
lot.
him in a
yes.
way. And it was the choice of companions that got him through things. And I don't know, I feel like if he didn't make that connection, like an Amy Rory connection on Voyager very quickly, I don't know that he would be successful in getting them back.
Here's
Yeah.
the wild thing. If Janeway was there, I think he would make a connection of Janeway.
Interesting. I agree.
Why do you
But
say that? I'm just curious.
She
think-
has a very Amy personality.
Yeah, she's very powerful. She's very confident. And I honestly think she would be very she'd be very drawn to the Doctor and fascinated. And so she would geek out with him on the level that the only other person who would be able to do that would be B'Elanna, but I think B'Elanna's too angry for.
Yeah, I think she's too angry for 11.
Yes.
So
And I feel like
without-
it's that happy-go-lucky kind of enthusiasm that he has that also at times feels like it's a mask for how he's actually feeling. But I
Yeah.
feel like that mask wouldn't necessarily serve him well on Voyager.
No, I don't think so. I think he would immediately I think Neelix and him probably just goof off, and I don't think he takes it as serious as he needs to.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at. Like he's just going to look for the person who's the most lighthearted, and it's going to be the wrong person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think he immediately latches on to the idea that it's going to take, what was it, 75, 79 years or something is what they originally said. He's going to latch on to that, and he's not going to try and make that go any faster at all, because what is time to him? Like,
Yeah.
what
fair
is time
point.
to him? So they're going to get lost. They're going to get confused. They're going to wander around. He's definitely just a giant child.
Yeah, and I also feel like 11 as a doctor is more kind of like you said, he's in it for the fun. He's in it for the long run, just to enjoy himself. And I think he's very easily influenced by just the joy and the rambunctious adventure that, yeah, what would be the point of ending it so soon, especially now that he's met all these interesting people.
Yeah.
And he loves kids.
Because we
the
see
second we get Naomi
Amy
introduced,
sometimes.
that is his new best friend.
Yeah. I mean, we see at the expense of Amy that he does things
Yes.
that are not necessarily good for her. And then, until later, we don't realize, and I feel like he would do the same thing to the people of Voyager, thinking, oh, this is I'm helping you guys by making things fun, without really considering their actual needs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we done with the Doctor?
Yeah, we can be done with the Doctor.
Because the next one.
Oh my goodness. Susan makes it back.
Oh my God.
She is an incredible leader. She is so loyal and so serious, and at first glance, I'm sure most people are like, she is too much of a stickler for the rules. It's never going to work. She has to be more flexible. Like, we're introduced to her, and she's like, she does break the rules. But she breaks them in a like lawful, good way. Like, this is the morally good thing to do. It's not the like I'm breaking a rule, but I'm breaking it for a good reason. Also, she kept a coffee plant
She did.
in the like garden on Babylon 5 illegally.
See, okay, so I am currently
As a
working my way
coffee
through the first
lover,
season.
she has to break it home.
So I'm currently working my way through the first season. So I am not far enough to be able to like give a very full account on what I think. But based on what I've seen so far, I was kind of thinking maybe she wouldn't make it. So you guys got to convince me if you think
I can see that.
But maybe it's
still
because what
have
you said,
so
maybe because of
much.
how they've introduced her as a character who's rule following, but then like seems to kind of not follow them when it suits a moment. And I don't know if that, to me, it seems to be a little bit too much inconsistency with how she's
I can see that.
doing things.
She does get a lot of opportunity to be very diplomatic and working with different species. The first season is a bit rocky, as most first seasons are, but she like really settles into her character in the second season. And I would say, yeah, like diplomacy is not going to be a challenge for her. I think the biggest problem is she is maybe a little bit more bloodthirsty than Janeway.
Oh,
This is the quote that I was thinking of just now. This is the
Yes.
quote, and you
Oh,
haven't gotten there
wow.
yet.
Yes, this is towards the end. I think that's season
Wow.
5 or the end of season 4.
Yeah.
Yes. And she's very angry at this point because she thinks one of her best friends is dead. But at this point, she is commanding an entire fleet of ships in a battle. So, like, she has the leadership skills to
She makes it
run
home
Voyager.
easily. I think
Yes,
she is much more flexible than she comes across.
she can be.
And I
I
think
think
she's a very
Chakotay
good
would be good
tactician.
for her.
Yes.
I think
Okay.
Chakotay would chill her out a little bit because I think he'd be almost like Marcus.
I was going to say.
And we don't get Marcus until what, season 3?
Yeah.
I think it's at least season 3. So if we get the Marcus character earlier, yeah, no, absolutely, she chills out a lot sooner.
But I'm going to say this. There is no, like, tension between her and Chakotay. It's a full-on relationship. Like, she is going to gravitate to him like a bug towards a light because he is a very Marcus-like character for her.
I can see that.
Is that going to affect her command decisions later on?
Not at all.
Not
even,
in the slightest.
Like she,
I love her already now.
She's
I was like torn
She-
because like I said, I'm partway through first season, and the first seasons are rocky for a lot of different
They
shows.
are.
And I'm kind of like, do I like this character? And like, do I feel like there's somebody here that's interesting? Like she was giving me Battlestar Galactica vibes.
Yes.
Like I felt like I could see her on like Adama's crew.
Mhm.
But I'm
she's
undecided where I am.
she's
kind
like
of cool to see
meta
this.
Adama. Like she's like Adama, but scarier and also more compassionate. It's like a weird vibe I get from her. But
Yes.
like she's very powerful. Her tactics are amazing. Like I think Tuvok falls in love with her is how good her tactics are.
Everyone falls in love with her.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
But that's
Like-
just me.
I gotta catch up.
And I don't necessarily mean romantically in love. The whole crew's in love with her, but I think she
Right.
inspires people and they want to make her happy. They want to follow her. They want to listen to her. I think they would make it back. I think they would make it back sooner than Janeway. I think she would still do a lot of the diplomacy that Janeway did, but I think her her patience for nonsense would be slightly less than Janeway's. She would just be like, "Nope, sorry, we're done. We're not putting up with this."
I think in a lot of ways she's a better captain than Janeway. And
Oh,
I don't say that easily. I don't say that lightly. But I think that she has the same strengths that Janeway has and fewer of the weaknesses.
oh, I like that.
I
And now I'm
can-
going to be paying attention to that. So that maybe will have to be a conversation later because now I'm going to be looking for that when I
Yeah.
watch this.
when you get to the end of Babylon 5, we will have a nice chat about
We'll do a Babylon.
all
chat.
the characters and their character arcs that they do really good character arcs for even a lot of the side characters. I think she makes it back. I only pulled one person from Babylon 5 for us to talk about because you haven't seen it yet. But I think there are several other characters that would be interesting to talk about. But
Yeah.
for her, definitely they make it back.
Okay. I agree. 100%.
My jury is out until I finish the show, but I'm convinced. So
Van, do you like I made a statement. I need to know how you feel about that statement before we move on. Like
What?
all of Janeway's strengths, none and fewer of the weaknesses.
yeah.
Maybe I'm
She
playing
has
it up too much.
She has different weaknesses than Janeway. She has different weaknesses than Janeway. I think her weaknesses would not be as much of a problem in the Delta Quadrant as Janeway's were.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, you've got to watch.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I'm trying to not like just.
No, it's okay. I get it.
I have all of these reasons, and I'm trying really
And
hard.
I feel
not
like the
to be
horrible
let
person
me,
is like,
let me drop
"Don't
all this
spoil me on
lore."
Babylon 5. The show has been out for like a million years.
It's only been 30 years.
It's only been 30 years.
Yeah, it's not to spoil a decades old show, but she is already like done a self-imposed isolation almost because she lost family members who are close to her. She was in a big rift with her dad. She was bouncing around once she joined Earth Force. So like going to the middle of the Delta Quadrant would not affect her the way like Janeway just really wanted to get home to people.
Well, I mean, I
and
understand.
know-
Janeway was a dog person. She wanted to get back to those puppies.
Yeah,
So.
no, I get it. I get it. She had a
Get it.
fiance, she had dogs, and I don't think Susan would have struggled in the same way with being in the Delta Quadrant.
You guys already said that she wouldn't prevent herself from being in a relationship, which I think was also one of Janeway's struggles. I think that it helped Janeway remain a good leader, but I think it also hurt her in emotional resonance.
I think she would be more realistic in that there's a huge possibility that this is going to be a generational ship.
Oh.
So Ivanova would not necessarily be like, oh, we all have to like get to work and have a ton of kids, but she would be like more encouraging of
thinking ahead about it,
relationships and thinking ahead in just a very logical way. So yeah.
Okay, we're moving
I
on.
like that.
Moving on. We're almost
Moving
done.
on. Samantha Carter.
Samantha
I
Carter
love
from
Sam.
Stargate. I love Sam too.
Sam is like one of my favorite characters ever.
I love her arc, and that's why I feel very strongly that Sam at the beginning of SG-1 wouldn't make it, but Sam at the end going into Atlantis absolutely would.
Yes. I think by the time she becomes commander of Atlantis, she has everything it takes to survive. I think early on she's not as confident in her leadership skills. She's brilliant,
Yeah.
but she would
No, we
not make
definitely
it.
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with Jack. In the first few seasons of SG1. You can definitely see that she's hesitant to make command decisions.
Yeah.
But she definitely weighs on her intelligence and her science side.
I don't think she's going to make it because she doesn't have the benefit of having somebody else helping her through the first few seasons as a powerful leader. And I think she needs that because Jack is not just a powerful leader for her. He's also like somebody who encourages her and lifts her up and trusts her. And without
Yeah.
that position of authority giving her that encouragement to shine on her own, I think that's the problem with Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
early
am
Sam would
no
struggle. I agree. But later Sam,
would
I think she
make it
does it.
home in half the time.
I think she would be
Probably.
fantastic.
Probably.
Yeah.
And I would almost go, I don't know, it's hard. I would almost go as far as to say that later Sam might even be better than Janeway with Voyager.
I think so.
I mean, I think that she would definitely respect the fact that Voyager was a science vessel. But she would have the know-how and the experience of taking that science and using it to protect them or to make them get someplace faster.
She blew up a star.
That's true. She did. I forgot about that.
I'm just saying. And not with Federation
Oh.
technology. She blew up a star with a Stargate and her math knowledge. Like,
True.
Yeah. Yeah. I think once she is a little bit more comfortable in a leadership role, I think she does very, very well. And she leans more heavily into her science background than Janeway did.
yeah.
And I
I
think a lot of the villains are not so far off from some of the things that they face. I mean, the Borg and the replicants. I mean, there's some
Yeah,
areas there where
the
you can say the
replicators are the
similars.
Borg, basically.
Yeah.
Like, that's the same type of thing. I think she definitely finds Seven, and Seven ends up being a better person because of Sam. Like,
Ooh.
I think Sam has that empathy and warmth and leadership ability better than Janeway. And again, I don't say that lightly, but this is how much I like Sam Carter, right? And maybe this is
She's definitely more approachable, I think, than Janeway would be.
yeah.
And she's used to a mixed crew. She's used to a crew that's from different places. So I don't think the Maquis would pose a problem for her.
No. And I think she integrates them pretty easily, to be honest, right? Like, she's not Starfleet. She's at the time a major or a captain, Captain Carter, right? Like, she progressed pretty far. I think she leans on them. I think Chakotay would be good for her. So if they can make
Oh,
it
yeah.
past the Vidians,
Yeah, I think, yeah.
that's the key, right? I don't know that she makes it past the Vidians early on, but if she could limp by, then it's just a much more powerful ship and more powerful crew afterwards.
How do you think she would deal with the Tuvix situation?
I think she would save Tuvix. She would duplicate Tuvix and then split one
and have all three.
I think it wouldn't have been the situation that it was because their transporters would not have made the glitch of combining two people and a plant because she would have been more up on all the maintenance. Like, we're going to keep things working smoothly. And I think that the solution, even if they did get combined, the solution of how to split them would come much sooner. And Tuvix would have been like, yes, I'm ready. Because very early on, he was like, yeah, no, split me, please. I don't want to be like this. The problem really arose for Janeway that it took so long to come up with a solution that
That he
Tuvix was kind
integrated.
of like, I'm a person now.
Yeah.
But I think Sam, like they buckle down and figure it out much faster.
Yeah.
And
She's also
it's not
Balana's
an
best
issue.
friend. She becomes Balana's best friend, I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
I would see
goodness,
that.
can you imagine this?
I feel like the scientist
it.
side of her would really help her in a lot of these situations. A lot of these situations where Janeway just wasn't a scientist and she was relying on everybody else to kind of help her come up with some solutions, some scientific solutions for the problems.
She's like MacGyver with a
Yes, we are talking
PhD.
about Sam Carter from Stargate.
Yeah. I mean, she just MacGyvers a bunch of shit on SG-1, and I think she's going to continue to do that on Voyager.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think that later seasons Carter, Atlantis Carter, 100% getting home.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I think
Much
she would be a
faster.
fantastic Starfleet officer.
She would. She would.
But you see, I mean, the whole thing about Stargate is the creator of the show is a huge Star Trek fanboy. And so this is like how he would have done Star Trek. And this is why the characters fit in so well in Starfleet.
Yes.
Because I mean, essentially, yes, it's the same thing. He's writing characters that could easily be switched over into Starfleet, I think. That's my take on it. I'm curious how the three fries would react to this whole conversation, by the way.
Well, and that's why I'm glad we had
we
Sam in this episode, because we should ask them what they think.
Yes.
But I definitely, I mean, I'm definitely pro Sam Carter making it. You know, there are other people in the group, like in the SG-1 group specifically, that I would say, if that character was running Voyager, they're not going to get home. Sorry, Daniel. I just don't think so. But
yeah.
Sam, I definitely, for me, was 100%. I think as long as she had that confidence, like you said earlier, that she gains in her story arc. If she has that confidence, I think she can do it.
I think so.
And I think you're right.
Okay.
I think she'd get there faster. She'd get there faster than Janeway, because I think she would be in the lab as much as she'd be on the bridge. I mean,
she would make a wormhole. Okay, and I bring this up because there's a scientist in Deep Space Nine that was Jadzia's like former wife.
Yes.
That whole who makes an artificial wormhole and like is like testing it out, and it was successful. And I really kind of feel like if Voyager had access to that data, right? I can't remember the timing of that, but the research would have been there. I think Sam would have been pouring over all of that research, and she would have been like, "Oh, we can just make a wormhole. Let's stop for a month, please, and let me get this going."
Yeah,
I can see that.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
She easily integrated, like learned Asgard technology, and then continued to expand upon it when it was integrated into ships. Like advanced technology is nothing for Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is like this ship is her superpower. Like it just adds to her superpower, which is her brain.
Right. And if you think about it, on Voyager, she would have more resources than she did at the start of SG-1. So she's already starting at an advantage. And if she's coming from later seasons or she's coming from Atlantis, then she's bringing her knowledge of that onto Voyager with her. Yeah.
I mean, she made the Naquadah generators. What would she do with a warp core? Like, holy shit, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I need this crossover to happen.
After this episode, we all have to go write some fanfic and then share it. We each pick one.
I do not have confidence in my writing ability, but I will be bothering you nonstop. Is what I'm saying.
I haven't written fanfic since I was like 16, 17. So
I will give it a go.
It's time to get back into it.
Yeah. It's time to start.
We've got some good premises here.
Okay, last one.
All right. This was a long time for me. It's been a long time since I've seen this one.
It's probably been
Brighton.
5, 6, plus years since I've done a Farscape rewatch. I am overdue for one.
I
I
haven't seen it since I think
included
it was on
him.
TV.
Yeah, it's not a recent show. I included him mostly because he is like thrown through a wormhole, and his whole journey is to get back to Earth. Um, I don't think he's going to make a good captain. He never has to really be a captain in the show. So like I don't see him wanting to like be in charge of Voyager. I don't see him enjoying that.
From what I remember, I'm getting a lot of like was like kind of Han Solo vibes, but like
Yeah.
not, but like but yes.
Like
Kind of that
Han
archetype of like
Solo was in the Air
a loner.
Force vibes.
Yeah.
Definitely more of a
He's-
loner. In the show, he does make it back to Earth. So I want to give him some credit for that, but also he's like, this sucks. I'm going back to space.
I think he doesn't. He's also smart, right? Like the reason
Very
he was
smart.
the reason he was even thrown out of Earth is like he was a scientist / astronaut. So he's capable. He's got not Sam Carter intelligence, but he's got intelligence, right? So the technology would be fascinating to him. I don't think he actually wants to get back, though. Is
My
where
question would be is does he have the command skills
not at
for
all.
like the
I don't
Voyager
think he has
crew?
the command skills. I think the crew very quickly just kicks him out. I think Chakotay takes over. The Maquis have a little bit of a moment.
We are talking Farscape right now.
Yeah, we are talking Farscape. You just missed our Sam Carter talk, so you can tell us all the things we did wrong when you rewatch it, Christina. Where was I? I think the crew replaces him. I think the crew ends up being a little bit different in its structure, and I think Chakotay ends up being captain. And I don't think it works. I don't think it works. I don't think they make it home.
Yeah, because I think if he had to relent the captaincy to Chakotay, I don't think Chakotay as a captain in his Voyager era is going to get them home. And likewise, I think him trying to play captain essentially with Chakotay as his first officer is also not going to go well.
No. I don't think he makes it back, which is sad. Love him.
He's a great character, but he's not a good captain, and that's the problem. He possesses none of the leadership skills, I don't think.
He took himself home, so I did want to bring him up and be like, yeah, he made it home, but yeah, no, I don't think he brings Voyager home.
But I think it's a great discussion because here's a character who had a similar journey, did make it home, but in this scenario wouldn't make it home.
Yeah.
I don't think he faced anything as severe as even the Vidians really on Farscape. Maybe. Like, he dealt with a race that was very fascist in nature.
It's like Herodians when they did the
Yeah.
World War II era thing.
Yeah, but I don't think he's equipped to handle the Borg, right? I don't think he's equipped to lead a ship that size. Nor do I think he has the desire to do so.
No.
I just don't think he would have the confidence of the crew. I think that would be the big thing. As the crew would pick up very quickly that this person is not prepared to lead us, whether it's because he doesn't have the experience or because he just doesn't have the will. Yeah.
He would not. Does he have Harvey? No, he doesn't. I think the episode where they're in like the void, right? There's no stars.
Yeah.
Like that broke Janeway almost.
Yeah,
it would crush Crichton. It would crush him.
No.
That's a very good
I don't
point.
think he makes it that far. So he's never going to have to deal with that. But yeah, no, he would be destroyed.
Okay, so how far do you think he gets? Because I'm giving him to season 3.
Oh, no,
I think
absolutely not. The Maquis
No.
mutiny and take over, and there's a lot of fighting before they finally come up with a command structure between Starfleet and the Maquis. And he is like put in
Because
the
first
science
first
lab
season you have the
2
Maquis,
episodes in.
you
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
Kazon.
Yeah.
You have Seska starting her nonsense towards the end there.
I think
I don't
Seska
know.
keeps everybody distracted enough that he survives till the beginning of season 3 and then dies.
Okay. I don't think he leads more than like 2 episodes though.
Before
Like,
Tuvok is like, no,
No, like
Brig.
I think the Maquis, Chakotay definitely talked his crew down from mutinying.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah.
and without Janeway there, like Chakotay knew she would be a good leader. So he told
You
the
think he'd do the
Maquis
opposite
no.
here?
I think he would do the opposite. I think he would be like, "This is not a good leader." Almost immediately, they'd be like, "Mm-mm, you got to go sit in a science lab or something."
And then have a
Like,
Maquis
you can
takeover
pilot.
with Chakotay as
Yeah.
captain.
But then
Okay.
there's enough Starfleet personnel that there's going to be a fun tussle there. They come up with a fun command structure. But yeah, no, he's not
But
leading.
Crichton's not in it.
No, like,
Not even the.
he's
not even
over in the
past the first-
corner.
Okay. I mean, that's a fair take. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he could get them to cooperate, but I'm not
I
dying on
don't
that
even
hill.
think he tries that hard.
No, I'm not.
I don't think he tries that hard.
I'm not.
It's interesting because I feel like it's a very Han Solo situation as well. But he doesn't
You
have like a
know-
Chewie or somebody there to like back him up for a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right, and I only look at him more positive than I do Han Solo because he's a scientist first and
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
scoundrel first.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
But they both lack leadership ability completely.
Yeah,
That's what it
without
comes
a
down
doubt.
to. Okay. So
Wow, we went
reached
the
the
whole
end of
list, or
part
like the
1.
first half of the list.
that
Yeah,
is
This is
part
why
1.
I said we had to split it in half because
And that was very wise.
I
very
have
wise.
brunch.
Well, should we like kind of show everybody a glimpse of who's going to be on the next episode? Who we'll be talking
can
about?
we pull our?
Yeah. I can do that.
Yeah, you had our list at the
Because there are some
beginning.
also exciting people. So Cisco,
Yeah.
I'm very
I
excited
am
to
so
talk about.
Oh my
excited. I am
God.
so excited to talk about.
You know what I'm
Cisco. And I feel bad that we didn't get him in part 1, but I feel like that is something to look forward to for part 2.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
also
excited about?
Malcolm Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
Hey,
Joseph.
Joseph.
I'm excited to hear the conversation from Van around Archer. Is what I'm excited.
Oh,
You
yeah,
should have heard
that's
me
true.
Thursday night. Oh my goodness.
That's true. I do think that Van is going to have an interesting perspective on Archer. That'll be fun.
I went hard Thursday night talking to my gaming group because we weren't gaming, so we were talking, and I went hard about Archer. So be prepared for that. That'll
I'm
be a
ready.
thing.
I'm very
That'll
excited.
be a thing. We have Pike. I'm excited to talk about Pike.
Me too.
I wish
Me
we
too.
had more seasons or even more episodes because he's in a little bit of Discovery, a tiny bit of the original series, and we only have 2 very short seasons of Strange New World. So I feel like I would like more of him, but
It's enough for
we're
me
going to
to
work
know.
with what we have.
Oh,
Okay.
Joseph
Joseph-
knows.
Joseph
Okay.
knows what he's going
I
to say.
have
So we're good.
thoughts.
I mean, I'm not going
I
to
have-
say anything, but I do think there's going to be a massive command restructuring of the bridge under Pike.
Oh, yeah.
That's
No, I
kind
see
of
that. I feel
my
that.
initial thoughts.
But
But-
okay, so we have Leia Organa. Like Leia, come on, amazing!
Exciting.
They-
Yeah.
Cannot
It's
wait.
going to be great. That's going to be a fun discussion.
And I think I'm going to
Ripley?
rewatch Galaxy Quest before our next episode to prepare myself, just because it's been such a long time since I've seen that one. But I thought I added him to the list because I thought this will be a fun
Same.
one.
Yes.
I think I'm going to have to rewatch it also. I'll probably gonna rewatch Alien. Um,
Mm.
Not because I really need to, but just because this is a good excuse, and like
Yeah.
we all need an excuse, right?
And I have to
Absolutely.
rewatch SG1 because Jack O'Neill. So
Oh well, yeah, we
We're gonna watch
will
all
be
of
talking about
SG1
him.
before our next one.
Mm.
Well, if you finish the
Now
entire
we get
SG1 series before, I'll be impressed.
there's not enough time.
There's not.
Like
Maybe you have a tortoise. You don't know. Um,
But also, I'm excited to talk about Lorca because I've been thinking
yes,
about him. At the moment, I'm a little
I
bit
have
conflicted on how I
thoughts.
feel, but I'm hoping to have a strong thoughts by the time we get back.
I have
I'm
thoughts on
excited for
him.
Rimmer.
I might have to watch like all of Red Dwarf before we film because I
I
haven't
might have to rewatch
watched
it too.
any.
It's been a
So
long
maybe
time.
I'll just pull a Marty when we were talking about Susan Ivanova and just sit over here and be like,
Oh
yeah,
no! Oh no! That means I have to
yeah,
rewatch it too. Joseph's gonna lead that one,
yeah.
Rimmer.
but we
Oh,
have a lot of extra exciting captains to talk about, so it's gonna be
me
Very
fun.
too.
excited.
Join us
Very
next time.
excited. That's a great question. Because the next we were doing every other week, but that's when GalaxyCon is. So maybe we do it this week.
We can do it this week. That's fine.
I think I can do that. I'll have to check my schedule, but I think it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll all check our schedules and get back.
Good.
Yeah.
This was
This
fun.
was exciting. I cannot wait to talk about more.
And thank you to everybody who woke up really early to watch this. 'Cause I know there are some people in the audience that were like, they were up early.
Yes.
Or
I almost messed up big time because I set my alarm for 7 a.m. because I was like, oh, it's at 8. I'm like, no, I'm on Central
Oh,
Time.
no.
And I woke up at 6:45 and I was like,
Oh,
wait, time zones. So when like you're like talking in the chat, I'm like like scrambling.
Oh no.
everything makes a little bit more sense now. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Where's Joseph? Why isn't he awake? Why isn't he on?
Yeah, so the shit I talked to you last night, yeah,
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 about like waking up early. Listen, I got
yeah,
up at
that was
6 o'clock. I did my skincare. I fixed my hair. I put my makeup on. I'm gonna go change shirts and put on shoes and run to brunch. So I did do
6:45.
all
I had to do
myself.
my hair, and then I had to shave. Like
Oh no.
anyway, okay. Till next time, y'all.
Ooh, we have our new outro.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
I'm so excited.
I love it.
Going out to explore. Tune-in comes to another frackin' podcast. Time travel, wormholes, and more. Chevron's locked on another frackin' podcast. Debating all the lore. We get signal of another frackin' podcast. Nerdy topics galore. Systems go for another frackin' podcast.